So wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for the invite. My name is Nikita Shiel-Rolle, and I'm joining you today from the Bahamas. And I have a bit of a very untraditional story to my ocean conservation career. And that was because I founded the organization that I run, Young Marine Explorers, as an undergraduate student at the University of Miami. It would have been in 2007. And so my journey of through my evolution in ocean science has also been paralleled with my journey as an entrepreneur. And this has been the most exhilarating and fulfilling experience and life commitment and journey, and also one of the most challenging ones. And with that, I want to share one of the most valuable pieces of advice that I can share with you is, one, to remember that life is really like the ocean. Sometimes it is flat, calm, and beautiful, and others it can be raging like a Category 6, as we refer to Hurricane Dorian, that can cause unimaginable change in your life. And for me, one of the most valuable lessons that I've learned has been to learn to flow with life and the challenges that come with that. So a little bit about my career background. Young Marine Explorers and the Cat Island Conservation Institute is a nonprofit organization and an institute now focused on driving the establishment of resilient islands capable of withstanding the changes due to the current climate crisis that we are in, and also finding a balance where humans are able to live in harmony and live thriving lives with nature, especially for those of us who are living on small island nations, or as I much prefer to refer to them as big ocean nations like the Bahamas. And I believe it's really, really important to learn to love and trust yourself. This was one of the biggest challenges that I had when it came to challenges in my career, because my self-worth was tied to, it started off with it being tied to my academic performance as a student, and I was I did very, very well academically most of the time, and I was usually often very, very busy. And so when I was doing well, things were great and I was on top of the world. But then as I advanced further in my career and things became a little bit more challenging, you know, I would receive a rejection letter, or I didn't receive grant funding for a project that I was working on. And I would find that my self-worth, how I believed in myself, was completely tied to an external interpretation of my being. And so I want to remind everyone that while science is something that we do, clearly ocean science is a big part of all of our lives, we are not just the scientists. We are not just defined by the work that we do, the number of publications that we have, whether or not we are the leader in our field. And that's really important. And so the second piece of advice I want to share is become very clear on your personal definition of success, because every single one of us has a different definition of success. For some, it may be to be a mother and a scientist. For others, you may want to be just single, completely focused on your career. And like myself, you may have multiple endeavors, whether you are, for example, myself, I run the Cat Island Conservation Institute. I am a marine conservation biologist, and I do a lot of research focused on coral reefs and connecting my community to science and the understanding of science. Additionally, I work a lot right now with the United Nations, specifically with UNESCO. I am a UNESCO partner And I focus, what's been really exciting, and this has been specifically because I have mastered the art of networking. And it's been really difficult for me sometimes, because I know sometimes, you know, you'll go to conferences and especially if you go by yourself and you don't really know someone, being in these large rooms where you have to, you know, be vulnerable, introduce yourself, try and find a connection, it can be a bit awkward. And so what has helped me, and what I want to encourage you as you are exploring networking and connecting with people, is that you have something incredible to share with the world. You have your contribution that you are making to ocean science, and the world needs that gift that you have. And don't be afraid of sharing your passion, sharing your interests with someone else. Additionally, please, please, please really work on developing a support system. And this is a support system for your life. You can't science if your life is falling apart. And I know this intimately because 3 years ago, I burnt out, and I burnt out really badly because I did not have a healthy work-life balance. I was pushing it all to build and establish myself in my career. And, you know, I was trying to work like I did when I was in college, not sleeping, you know, 17, 20 hours, just go, 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 go. And that's not sustainable. And especially if we are, and as we are focused in ocean conservation, different aspects of ocean conservation, sustainability has to be at the heart of our lifestyle, which also influences and feeds into how we do science. So something that I've been working on, and this is a daily practice for me, is identifying how can I be extremely intentional with my time. So if I am working on a project, working on a grant, and I realize that mentally I'm just not there, as opposed to forcing myself to sit and then be completely unproductive, I'm actually going to stop doing it, walk away, and be really intentional about giving my body what it is that I need, whether it's rest, whether it's a jog, a shower, going for a swim. I know right now in the time of COVID-19, things are extremely difficult. And this is what makes it that much more important for us to invest in how we are taking care of ourselves. Because all of us here are working on solving completely complex situations. And when we are stressed and frantic, we're not the best decision makers and problem solvers. And so it's really, really, I want to encourage you, and I know this kind of goes against much of the culture, and often I believe our industry can be a very toxic culture, but I want to encourage you to rest. Again, another a piece of advice that I'd like to share is, as you are building your network, don't be afraid to be persistent. I work with the United Nations right now, and I am now on my 3rd contract with UNESCO as a contractor, and I spent 2 years developing a relationship with my colleague at the UNESCO headquarters in Paris via email, you know, because I'm based in the Bahamas, working to nurture this relationship. And this took a really long time, but eventually it resulted in me being able to get my foot in the door and working on ocean conservation at both a global level and a very, very local level, like in the community that I work with. And it's okay to not know. So for example, my first UN contract, I was way over my head. You know, I spent so much time and effort working to get it that I did not fully realize that I wasn't fully equipped to handle some of the reporting mechanisms, and to fully fulfill that contract. And so this is where I want to encourage you to ask for help. None of us can do this by ourselves. We cannot protect the ocean by ourselves. You know, we need to work together. We need to support each other. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Another piece of advice that I'm going to share is take the opportunities that come your way. If it feels right, if it's exciting for you, allow yourself to flow with it, because you never know where it's going to take you. The one thing that I've learned from my career is that I now have found myself working in almost every single area tied to some different area as it relates to the ocean. And it's really fun, and it's also really challenging. So as I am building my career as both an entrepreneur and also as a scientist, I am really embracing this energy of playing and remembering what inspired me to get into and to do this work. Because ocean conservation is challenging, and it's really, really important for us to, I think, be grounded in the why we are doing this. And if the why we're doing it is not making us happy, then we need to reevaluate what's next for us. So I believe that's my time. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share. Please feel free to connect with me. You can find me on Instagram at Cat Island Kita. And I would be more than happy to connect with you to learn more about the work that you're doing and to see how we can create a healthier and more sustainable ocean.